judges of the Court of Appeals, and Her Excellency, the Governor of the State of New York. The swearing-in ceremony will now begin. All please be seated.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Court of Appeals Hall. On behalf of my colleagues, Judges Rivera, Judges Garcia, and Judge Wilson, our clerk of the court, John Acello, and our professional staff, we are honored and delighted that you could join us for this singular and historic investiture ceremony. Madeleine as the 114th, Anthony Canatero as the 115th, and Shirley Troutman as the 116th Associate Judges of the New York Court of Appeals. And to begin today's ceremony, I'm going to ask Caitlin and Elias Wang to come forward to the podium and the microphone and lead us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Caitlin and Elias are the children of Judge John Wang, one of our New York City Civil Court judges who presides in a mental health part, and who is also, most importantly, a colleague, friend, and former law clerk to Judge Canatero. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Caitlin and Elias. Very, very well done. At this time, I would like to invite David Vaughn Herring II, a family friend of the Troutman family and the son of Judge Lenora Foote Beavers, an acting Erie County Family Court who serves with us, forward already, to lead us in the singing of our national anthem. Please rise.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs burst, stinging air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you. Please be seated, everyone. That was beautiful. Thank you. And now it's my privilege to call upon another honored guest, His Eminence Archbishop Elpifosa, the leader of the Greek Orthodox faithful in the United States, who will offer an invocation for this very special occasion. And I know that Judge Singh is deeply, deeply moved by the Archbishop's presence here today.
May we bow our heads in prayer. in the name of God, who asks only that we do justly and practice love and mercy, compassion and understanding, we give thanks and praise to you for gathering us here today in order to invest these three pillars of the law, Judge Singas, Judge Canatero, and Judge Troutman. We ask that you grant them special grace and wisdom, as you so blessed the wise King Solomon. We ask that you inspire them to wakefulness for the people of this great state of New York, as you so inspired the judge of Israel, Deborah. And we ask that you grant them the strength of Samson the judge, so that they may persevere in justice and righteousness all the days of their service to the people. Bless these three judges, O Holy One, and all who serve on the bench of this Court of Appeals, so that they may render wholesome and right judgments for all the citizenry. And so we render glory, reverence, and honor to you who are the source and fountain of the law. Amen.
Thank you, Your Eminence. So the presence in our courtroom this morning of so many extraordinary leaders and public servants underscores certainly the vital importance of the work and the mission of the Court of Appeals. So with your indulgence, I will take a moment to acknowledge their attendance and to thank them for taking the time and making the effort to join us today. And of course, I do start with the very special honor and privilege we have to be joined here on our historic Court of Appeals bench by the Governor of the State of New York, the Honorable Kathy Hochul. Starting with the age-old tradition of family first, the former members of the Court of Appeals, former Chief Judge Saul Wackler, who I know is watching remotely, as is Joseph Bellicosa, and here in person, Carmen Beauchamp-Siparik, Susan Phillips Reed, Robert Smith, Leslie Stein, and Eugene Fahey. Former Chief Administrative Judge and Associate Justice of the Appellate Division, First Department, our friend E. Leo Malonis. Our outstanding Chief Administrative Judge, Lawrence Marks. Our presiding justices of the Appellate Division, Hector LaSalle from the Second Department, Elizabeth Gary from the Third Department, and Gerald Whalen of the Appellate Division, Fourth Department. Our Deputy Chief Administrative Judges, who have very important responsibilities, Edwina Mendelson is our Deputy Chief Administrative Judge for Justice Initiatives, Tomiko Amaker for Management Support, Deborah Kaplan for the New York City Courts, and Norman St. James for the courts outside New York City. Moving now to our partners in the executive branch of government, Letitia James, the Attorney General of the State of New York. Welcome, General. Tom DiNapoli, our wonderful State Comptroller. Thank you for being here, Mr. DiNapoli. Barbara Underwood, the Solicitor General. Elizabeth Fine, Counsel to the Governor. Lucy Lang, I believe, is here, New York State Inspector General, and Nelson Sheingold, Counsel to the Comptroller. And from our state legislature, I believe that Crystal Peoples-Stokes is here, although I don't see her exactly in her seat. She may be joining the family of Judge Troutman, Senator Sean Ryan, and Senator Tim Kennedy. Thank you for being here. The mayor of the city of Albany, Mayor Kathy Sheehan. Representing the New York State Bar is T. Andrew Brown, President of the New York State Bar Association, Sherry Levin Wallach, President-elect of the State Bar, important partners for us in the judiciary. Also present is the co-chair of our Franklin H. Williams Judicial Commission, Richard Rivera, who serves as our supervising judge of the family courts in the 3rd Judicial District. And from the Richard C. Fala LGBTQ Commission, the Commission's Executive Director, Matthew Skinner. Thank you all for being here today. So the judges of our state's high court, with its storied history of service to the people of our state, are charged with momentous and consequential responsibilities. Our service is guided by a purity of purpose as we work together to develop a strong, clear, and predictable body of law to guide the everyday lives of all New Yorkers in their professional and personal endeavors to enhance the proper execution of our government's responsibilities to the people of this state and to foster economic growth and development for the benefit of all of us. The selection of Judge Singas, Judge Canatero, and Judge Troutman, and today's investiture represent our collective commitment to supporting this court's purity of purpose as we go about carrying out our mission in the days and months and years ahead. And with the arrival of these 3 outstanding jurists, this court's foundation is renewed and it is surely strengthened. And for that happy circumstance, we are most grateful to the members of the entities and individuals, including the Commission on Judicial Nomination, which has done an exceptional job of promptly screening and recommending a highly qualified and diverse slate of nominees to the governor. So thank you to its chair, Elio Malonis, the members of the commission, and its counsel, Hank Greenberg. We are most grateful, of course, to our partners in government for their steadfast support of a strong and a diverse Court of Appeals, including the members of the New York State Senate, led by Majority Leader Andrea Stewart Cousins, and the Senate Judiciary Committee, chaired by Senator Brad Hoylman, which conducted full, informative hearings leading up to the Senate confirmation of each of the nominees to this court, and we are grateful for their service. So now it is my honor and my privilege to introduce to you, she needs no introduction, I'm sure, the 57th governor of the great state of New York, Kathy Hochul, the first woman to serve as governor of our state. Governor Hokel has devoted her professional life to public service, serving in literally every level of our government. Since taking office last August, Governor Hokel has done an outstanding job leading our state during these difficult times, safely guiding New Yorkers through the COVID pandemic, and through her strong leadership, serving as a most supportive partner of the judiciary as we move through our efforts to safely return to full in-person operations. Governor Hokel, welcome to the bench. It is a high honor and privilege to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Chief Judge DiFiore. The last time I sat out here, I was a lieutenant governor. It was 2016, I believe it was in February, and the occasion was your ascension to this position. And it has been a joy to watch you in action in the good times and in the challenging times, and your leadership ensuring that our system of jurisprudence continued during a global pandemic, a 100-year occurrence, was something that the history books are going to talk about in the future. So I want to thank you and the members of the bench and all of the people who had to endure the unthinkable during these trying times to just keep it all together. So thank you. It is an honor to be invited to participate here today. I will be mentioning some remarks about our individual brand new members. What an honor to be with you here today. But I do want to acknowledge some of my partners in government as well, starting with our incredible Attorney General, Letitia James, who she just makes all of us so proud and has a tremendous record of accomplishment, particularly as the lawyer for the people of this great state. Letitia James, thank you for being here today. Our Comptroller, Tom DiNapoli, who we are going to pay everybody on time this week. We're going to get the budget done, but we are focused on something known as public safety, and we'll get that through as well, and that has been my objective and accomplishments. But thank you for being such an incredible public servant throughout your life as well. And I do regret that we can't be joined by Speaker Hasty and Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes, who may be watching. I know she's a very strong supporter of Judge Troutman, and also Andre Stewart Cousins, Majority Leader of the Senate, but they're tied up with something down the street as well that I need to return to fairly shortly, but we'll get that done as well. Also, to have the Solicitor General here is someone I'm very proud of. I've had a chance to congratulate Barbara Underwood a number of times on her great success in the courtroom, along with our Attorney General. Just in the 7 months I've been governor, we have a pretty good record going. Let's keep it going. So thank her also as well. Always great to see other leaders in state government like Senator Tim Kennedy, Senator Sean Ryan, who are here representing Buffalo in support of Buffalo's favorite daughter. I guess I'm no longer the favorite daughter. Okay, I've been replaced here. But all the associate, Mayor Kathy Sheehan, I always have to apologize when people say they're angry at Albany or Albany did this. We're not talking about you, Mayor. The city's great. We love the city. And again, to have you house the most significant court of all in the nation, maybe outside of Washington, D.C., is a huge point of pride for you. I know you speak with this often. All the associate judges, presiding judges, and of course the families. The families who have been on the journey with their loved ones a long time, especially the children who had maybe perhaps many nights and weekends where a parent was working long hours. Please don't write a book about that. I'm hoping my kids don't write a book about that, but their intentions are well placed, and they are true public servants in every sense of the word, so the families for their sacrifices. I sit here from a number of perspectives. One is governor, and to have the extraordinary privilege of fulfilling one of my responsibilities, which is an appointment to the Court of Appeals. Something I took very seriously, something that came up fairly early in my tenure as a new governor, and something I'm very proud to be able to be participating in the investiture for one of those individuals, as well as 2 other colleagues who were denied this wonderful celebration because of COVID, but have been serving with great distinction since last June. So I come at it from looking at my responsibility as a governor, also as a lawyer, as someone who has tremendous respect for the law, reverence for the law, the Constitution, and our responsibilities. The Chief Judge mentioned I've served every level of government. I haven't been a judge yet, but I think I'm good. But also as a woman and a granddaughter of immigrants, because 2 of our candidates are also, or not candidates, 2 of our newest judges are also first-generation immigrants, something I know they're very proud of as well as the ascension of 2 more women to the bench, which is something that is part of our desire to increase the diversity and the representation to make it more reflective of our state, and that has been accomplished with the incredible individuals we have here today. So we think about, when you sit here and you think about all these pictures on the wall, it is a little intimidating. They all kind of dress the same, they all look a little bit alike, but we're starting to change that dynamic, and that is very powerful, and I'm proud of that. And it started before my time, and I'm going to continue that as well. Because this has been a source of pride for all of us as New Yorkers for the last 175 years. The foundation of this building was laid by one of my predecessors, John Jay, who ascended to become the Chief Judge of the U.S. Supreme Court, as well as one of our founding fathers. And he took an easy job as he was approaching retirement and became the 2nd governor of New York. So he's certainly a reminder of the great legacy that this foundation has been built on. And those are the faces of the past to remind us of the awesome responsibility and what has happened in this very courtroom throughout the history of our state. And it's a huge point of pride for us. So we see these portraits on the wall. We also hear the echoes of landmark cases that are decided right here in our state that set the tone for others, because we know that New York State has a proud legacy of being the birthplace of many significant movements. The women's rights movement started here. NAACP started in a place not far from Buffalo, Fort Erie and Buffalo. So the civil rights movement really had an important genesis in our state. The LGBTQ movement, Stonewall, such an important part of our story. The labor movement, the environmental justice movement. All these movements start in communities and people who've been oppressed, who said enough is enough. And often those grievances can be addressed by legislatures. But then there's challenges, and many of our great movements forward have been challenged. And how are those disputes resolved? Where are they resolved? They're resolved in places like this, to continue that the progress made by other individuals are withheld and upheld for generations to come. That is the significance of this court. And I want to say one of the most responsibilities is the administration of the oath of office to our Constitution, to our nation, and to our state. Every word of that oath has significance and consequence, and it is something that every person here lives by every single day. And I want to think about the remarks of Thurgood Marshall. When you think about the true genius of our founding fathers, they set up institutions that ensured our continued growth and expansion and creativity and new ideas. And the genius was leaving the final say to the courts, not to the masses, but to take the tone of the time and what has happened in the past precedent and to shape that into a forward-looking decisions. So the process, according to Thurgood Marshall, the process of democracy is one of change. Our laws are not frozen into immutable form. They are constantly in the process of revision in response to the needs of a changing society. We have seen our society change dramatically. And to know that the firewall from the diminishing of those rights that have been so long and hard fought for is right here. The responsibility of that protection lies in this court. So to remain true to the Constitution while interpreting the law in a way that responds to our needs, that's why it's important we have the breadth of experience and diversity of the state represented here. That is the significance of what we're doing here today. And I'm very, very proud to have brilliant legal minds that have been selected and recommended from our great screening committee, and I applaud their efforts. I know it's a responsibility they take very seriously. But it's important for us to have individuals who've had different backgrounds, who come forth with the experiences of their communities, their background, their education, their professional experience, and all comes together in a beautiful mixture of brilliant people all set forth on the same purpose, to do right under the law. And that is a weighty responsibility. So we are also looking at the opportunity to increase that diversity. As I mentioned, 2 first-generation Americans, 2 women, and the second African-American woman ever nominated to the Court of Appeals. And I want to mention a number of them by name now because I'm so proud of their accomplishments. Judge Madeleine Singas. She has served the people of the state admirably across her time at the district attorney's offices. She was district attorney at Nassau County. She was a special prosecutor, special deputy attorney general to investigate crimes. She worked in very, very difficult areas of the law. When you're dealing in the cases of special victims and domestic violence cases, these are heart-wrenching cases. These are families that have been ripped apart. And it takes a special kind of person, a special disposition, a passion to doing justice for these individuals, for someone like to be drawn to this. And certainly Judge Singas has been a steward in what she has done to champion the rights of these individuals. JD from Fordham Law School, political science from Barnard College at Columbia University. She's also, and this is what I wanted to mention, the daughter of Greek immigrants. And she often had to serve as a translator for her parents. She had to become their voice. And that's incredible. And she said that she was motivated by having to be a voice for her parents and their family, to be a voice for others in public service. I think that's beautiful. And now she'll have a voice for all New Yorkers here on the highest court. So I want to congratulate you on your position as well. Judge Anthony Canatero, again, another dedicated public servant who brings incredible experience in both civil and family courts. Recently served as the administrative judge of the Civil Court of the City of New York, elected to the state Supreme Court, served a civil term for New York, also served as a supervising judge in the civil court, acting Supreme Court judge. I don't think I have enough room for all this, Judge. This is incredible. Judge in the civil court in Bronx County. And before that, you served as a judge in the family court in Kings County, as well as serving for a very distinguished clerk here, as we know, Judge Beauchamp Seaparek from this court as well. So you certainly know your place around. This is not new to you, but also to bring your talents and, again, your life's experience as, again, a first-generation American, son of Italian immigrants, and who represent 15% of our population And so the perspective of people coming here and the struggles that new Americans have is something that brings you to the certain perspective that you offer all of us into court. And it's a special day for you and your spouse, Peter, as well. And is your husband's here too? Theo's here. Okay, Theo's here. So this is all about families too. And finally to Judge Troutman, who I've had the honor of appointing as my very first appointment to the Court of Appeals. This is particularly special because I've known her for over 30 years. She grew up in my hometown of Buffalo, went to Buffalo Public Schools, graduated from the University of Buffalo, University of Albany, received her law degree. She taught at the law school, a remarkable career in the Assistant District Attorney's Office, Assistant U.S. Attorney's Office, trial court judge, acting Supreme Court Justice, and elected to the Supreme Court in 2009. And she also is steeled in the knowledge of people who've been oppressed, knowing that her own parents had to escape a very segregated South, came up from Georgia, so her own children could have an opportunity for a better education. And truly, because of your accomplishments and what your parents brought to your family, this opportunity to live a very different life in a place like New York, you are now a model. All of you are models for other people and little girls out there who can look at this bench and say, I can do that too. So to both of you, delighted to see the ascension of two women in this court. And I cannot say this without being reminded of what's going on not far from here in Washington, D.C., and the struggles that is going on right now for what should be an automatic ascension with full support of the Senate, with the confirmation of Ketanji Brown Jackson. And I say this with hesitation because it's really hard to see what she's going through and to see what the hatred that is coming her way and how she has to sit there and endure it. And to see how she's just a brilliant jurist trying to do her job, and she's going to add a voice and perspective to the court that no one has ever seen before. But now we have people, because of her credentials and her decisions, are being criticized with dog whistles and right-wing topics of the day. And I believe that has actually strengthened her case for confirmation because it reminds everybody why we need her on that bench, why we need her now more than ever to shut down that negativity and show it can be done. So there is a parallel battle going on. Fortunately, that doesn't happen here, but to see the ascension of her nomination going forward and hopefully resolved in the next couple of days is also a reminder that change is sometimes hard to accomplish and there is resistance. And that is what this court has to continue to stand up again, because that kind of discrimination is very much alive and well in our society, as much as it's hard to recognize that. So I thank everyone for this high honor. This has been a privilege. I appreciate you affording me the time to just say how proud I am of these three incredible jurists who, when you think about all the things a judge can accomplish, these are legacy decisions, and a governor's responsibility to name these individuals. Their work will live and endure long beyond the tenure of any governor. And that is why this is such a significant day for me, for this court, and for the people of the state of New York. So congratulations to all of you.
Thank you, Governor Hokel. And now the reason we're all here for the administration of the oath of office to our three new judges, starting with Judge Madeleine, who is indeed the daughter of Greek immigrants, was born and raised in Astoria, Queens, and educated in New York City. Bronx High School of Science, quite an achievement, Barnard College of Columbia University, and the Fordham Law School. Judge Singas began her legal career as an assistant district attorney, serving in both the Queens County and the Nassau County District Attorney's Office, rising through the ranks and eventually serving as the elected district attorney in Nassau County. Throughout her legal career, Judge Singas has been an effective leader, focusing her efforts on improving the lives of women, children, and families, and just recently working to mobilize support at the state and national level for the resettlement of Afghan women judges and justice system refugees, connecting them to career placement opportunities right here in the New York State courts. a remarkable record of leadership and service dedicated to the fair and equal treatment of all, with a special emphasis and focus on women and families. Judge Singis was nominated to the Court of Appeals on May 25th, 2021, and confirmed by the Senate on June 8th, 2021, becoming the first Greek American to serve on our state's High Court. From the perspective of her colleagues here on the bench, Judge Singis has been a terrific addition to our bench. Smart, thoughtful, hardworking, and collegial, everything we could hope for in a colleague. Judge Singis is today joined by her very proud family, her husband and best supporter, Theo Apostolou, their twin children, Demi and Billy, her sister, Dr. Effie Singis, her nephew, Dr. Yanni Coroneos, Father Alex Carlutzis, Father John Lardis, and many, many close friends and colleagues, some of whom are watching from afar in our overflow rooms. Judge Singis, please come forward for the administration of the oath. Place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Madeleine Singis,
I, Madeleine Singis,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to uphold the Constitution of the United States,
to uphold the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and to faithfully discharge my duties
and to faithfully discharge my duties
as an Associate Judge of the New York Court of Appeals
as an Associate Judge of the New York State Court of Appeals
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my abilities, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Judge, for that very generous introduction. And thank you for opening this spectacular courtroom to our friends and families, both here and online. Thank you for your generosity and assistance in my transition to the court. Your incredible work ethic, your diligence, your faithfulness to the law and respect for this institution inspire me every day. Thank you, Governor Hokel, for joining us today during such a busy time in Albany. It's not lost on us. As a young lawyer and as a young woman, the halls of power look very different than they do today. With a woman in the governor's mansion, a woman attorney general, Tish James, a warrior for all New Yorkers, a woman leading the New York State Senate, leading this court, and having a majority of women on this great court. While there are still inequities that face women, New York is doing its part to answer that question, answered aspirationally by none other than Beyonce. Who run the world? Girls. Thank you to His Eminence El Pidoforos. I am deeply touched by your presence here today. And I recognized early in my career that my aspirations were not mine alone, but they belong to the entire Greek Orthodox community. I thank former Governor Cuomo for the honor of my nomination to this court and the Commission on Judicial Nominations, especially Hank Greenberg, and one of our Greek American treasures, Judge Ilias Milonas, also known as Judge Leo Malonis. Thank you. Congratulations to Judges Canatero and Troutman and your families. We all know it is our families and their sacrifice that enable us to reach these pinnacles in our career. Judge Canatero and I were confirmed on the same day, and that is a bond that I cherish. Past Judges Stein and Fahey were also confirmed on the same day. So I echo Judge Stein's words at her investiture and say thank you, Judge Canatero, for ensuring that I am never the junior judge. Thank you to Father Alex, a titan in our community. Thank you for your guidance and sage wisdom, and happy birthday. Thank you to the former judges of this court who are here. It's a little disconcerting. I usually look up at you in your one-dimensional portraits to see you now in your three-dimensional selves.
Your presence serves as a reminder that we are but placeholders in the history of this institution, and that the opportunity and privilege of our service comes with a weighty responsibility, mindful that our decisions will affect the daily lives of millions of New Yorkers now and for generations to come. Thank you especially, Judge Stein, whose seat I have, and whose decency and diligence I strive to emulate. Most judges at their investitures speak in anticipatory language about what they think the work with their colleagues will be like. But having been on the court for nearly a year, I can attest to the fact that the work is invigorating and meaningful, and the judges are indeed brilliant, meticulous, thoughtful, and discerning. I thank the Chief and Judges Rivera, Garcia, and Wilson, and for a short time, Judge Fahey, for welcoming me to the court and being patient instructors. And of course, working with Judges Canatero and Troutman have made the new experience less daunting. I'd like to thank the incredible staff of this court, the clerk, John Acello, and Beyer for putting this together so remarkably, and all the clerks and lawyers and court officers and staff whose only objective is to ease our work and keep the integrity of the court at the forefront of all operations. I'd like to thank my clerks, Justin Levin, Greg Manring, Lori Gibbons, and Emily Grasso. Thank you for your curiosity and for your dedication to the law. I am better for your work, and I can confidently say that our future is so bright in these young lawyers' hands. Thank you to my dear friends from kindergarten through law school, from our first jobs to this moment, many of whom are here today. Thank you to my aunts and uncles, my nephew, my sisters-in-law, and my endless cousins who fill the overflow room, but most importantly, who fill my heart and home with love and laughter. To my sister, who inherited our mother's elegance and grace and continues to protect and guide me as only a big sister can. Demi and Billy, Billy and Demi. Last week they turned 20. Their formative years were spent in the public eye, and they handled that pressure with poise and maturity. You both gave me a capacity for love and joy, purpose and wonder that I had never known before. My most ardent supporter, my rock, thank you, Theo, for always propelling me forward, for nourishing me and for loving me, for taking care of everything so that I could focus on my career and spend whatever free time I had with our children, for stepping aside so that I could shine. To my parents, who are no longer with us, but whose presence fills at least this part of the room, whatever they could offer me, they did, raising me with a strong moral compass and faith, a sense of empathy and kindness, a commitment to service, and a determined work ethic. Despite their struggles, I never saw them discouraged or bitter. Instead, they were full of hope, brimming with endless possibilities. To move in one generation from the impoverished, war-torn villages in the mountains of northern Greece to the warm, inviting halls of this great Court of Appeals, my journey has exceeded every dream that I or my family could ever imagine. And yet, it is the quintessential American story. From my work, I have come to know the frailties of the human condition, and I know how the law impacts individuals and families in our communities. I continue to be driven by their expectations that the law will protect them and treat them fairly. I often reflect on Eleanor Roosevelt's simple yet profound words: justice cannot be for one side alone, but must be for both. I am tremendously honored to have the privilege of taking my seat on this court, and most humbled to play a small part in moving this institution forward with dignity, informed by the majesty of our law, and motivated by the common good. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Singas. Judge Anthony Canatero. We have a theme here, the son of Italian immigrants. Judge Canatero has devoted his entire legal career to public service. He received his Bachelor of Arts degree from Columbia University and his law degree from New York Law School before starting his legal career as an assistant corporation counsel in the New York City Law Department. In the year 2000, Judge Canatero presciently sought a position as a chambers clerk to a highly regarded and very well-respected Court of Appeals judge. And while serving in the chambers of Carmen Beauchamp-Saparic, he became intimately familiar with the workings of this court. Smart move, Judge Canatero. He went on to serve as an elected judge of the New York City Civil Court and elected justice of the Supreme Court for the First Judicial Department. He was then appointed to serve as the administrative judge of the New York City Civil Courts, an important supervisory position encompassing our very busy New York City Civil Court, including the much-watched New York City Housing Court. And he served in that key leadership position at a particularly difficult time in our history as we navigated through an historic pandemic. Judge, I know you pined for those days. Throughout his career, Judge Canatero has given generously of his time and talent to improve the administration of justice, including his service and leadership as co-chair of the Richard C. Fala LGBTQ Commission of the New York State Courts. Judge Canatero was nominated to the Court of Appeals on May 25th, 2021, and confirmed by the New York State Senate on June 8th, 2021. Since joining our court, Judge Canatero has proved himself to be an excellent colleague, bright, industrious, caring, curious, intellectually, and certainly devoted to the work of our court. He is joined today in the courtroom by his very proud husband, Peter Goditis, and while his mom and dad are no longer with us, he is joined by several of his aunts and uncles, Marietta Canatero, Joe and Joanne Casa, and Antoinette Leone. And watching remotely are his sister, Maria Canatero, her husband, Richard Morosi's, and their daughter, the judge's beloved niece, Marley Jane. Judge Canatero, please do come forward for the administration of the oath. Left hand on the Bible, and up. And repeat after me. I, Anthony Canatero,
I, Anthony Canatero,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to uphold the Constitution of the United States,
to uphold the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and to faithfully discharge my duties
and to faithfully discharge my duties
as Associate Judge of the New York Court of Appeals
as Associate Judge of the New York Court of Appeals
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God. Thank you. I concur in the entirety with all of Judge Singas's remarks. Let's go to lunch. Thank you to everyone for coming here today. Thank you especially to all the officials who have gathered, including Governor Hokel and Attorney General James and our Solicitor General, Barbara Underwood, as well as all the other dignitaries that were mentioned by the Chief Judge. Thank you also to my colleagues on the court who have assembled off-cycle, as it were, in the middle of a busy month to formally welcome me to this estimable court. And thank you to my friends and family who in most cases made a trip of several hours to attend these proceedings. I'm so grateful that you were able to come. This is actually the third time I've given the oath that I just recited as I embarked on a new judicial office. And although the words of the oath were essentially the same each time, the significance of that oath that I just gave is quite different for me today, and not just because this is the Court of Appeals. What makes this particular occasion somewhat different than the previous ones is the perspective that I bring to the solemn promise that I just made. When I took the oath of office on previous occasions, I hadn't yet embarked on the office that I was promising to uphold. My pledge on those prior occasions was grounded in a more vague notion of what the job entailed and what would be required of me to live up to the commitment that I was making to the Constitution and to the law. But in just a couple months, I, along with Judge Singas, will celebrate my one-year anniversary as an associate judge of the Court of Appeals. It's been an eventful year, and in many ways, the training wheels are already off my judgeship at this court. So, what is the accumulated wisdom of my experience at this court so far? I'll tell you. This job is really hard. The issues are incredibly important, usually of statewide significance, and always challenging. The law to be applied is layered and complex, and all too often, it is challenging to harmonize one's sense of fairness with the requirements of the law. We take on the hard questions here. So today, I view my oath more as a renewed promise to fully apply all of my training, my experience, and whatever ability I have in service to the people of the state of New York. To always do what the law and justice require, no matter how difficult that may seem, and to rise to the many challenges of this high and important office according to the best of my ability. This is no small task, but it is one that I am eager to pursue. I have been given an opportunity that is afforded to few and for which I owe thanks to many, and I only have a few minutes to do it. So first, let me thank my colleagues once again at the court, Chief Judge DiFiore and my fellow associate judges who have welcomed me as one of their own. And I too must make special mention of my two new colleagues who joined me in today's proceedings, Madeleine Singas, who I went through the confirmation process with, and Judge Shirley Troutman, who came to the court while the memory of the confirmation process was still very fresh in my mind. So I feel a sense of camaraderie with both of these remarkable judges, and I'm so happy to be here with both of you. Of course, I have to thank former Governor Cuomo for selecting me from a list of talented and eminently qualified candidates to be the 115th judge of the Court of Appeals. By the way, I learned that I'm the 115th judge, not from the Chief Judge's remarks today, but from a video address that she gave about a week ago. And Chief, that's evidence that I still listen to your bi-weekly video addresses. My thanks to the members of the Senate Judiciary Committee and its chair, Brad Hoylman, and to the many senators and assembly members who took the time to speak with me and discuss my qualifications and my candidacy. Thank you also to the members of the Commission on Judicial Nominations for sending my name to the governor, and to its counsel, Hank Greenberg, for helping to organize a smooth and relatively painless screening process. And Godspeed to you, Hank, wherever you are right now. To the many bar associations, attorneys, community leaders, and others who supported my candidacy, thank you. And I have to make special mention of the LGBTQ community and the Italian-American communities who were exceptionally vocal in their support. And I promise every day to live up to the trust that you have placed in me. For today's proceedings, and for making every day that we gather in Albany run so smoothly, I'd like to thank the entire professional staff of the Court of Appeals, especially Ann Byer, who worked so hard to make this ceremony a reality, and of course, our current Chief Clerk, John Acello, who will be leaving us shortly, along with his successor, Lisa LaCour, both of whom I have had the honor and pleasure of knowing for over 20 years now. I'd like to recognize my colleagues from the New York City bench, that's this side of the room, Judge Sigmund, as well as those who are watching or possibly too busy to watch as the courts quickly resume full operations. And that, of course, includes everyone at the New York City Civil Court, who I miss deeply. Let me also thank my friends from court administration, represented by Chief Administrative Judge Lawrence Marks, who seems to have brought pretty much the entire administration of the court system with him, and to the non-judicial chief of administration, Nancy Barry, among so many others who are here today. It has been an honor to work alongside all of you. I'd like to recognize my chamber staff, including Michael Fallick and Alice Goldenberg, who came to the Court of Appeals with me from the Supreme Court. My former law clerk, now judge, John Wang, who quit my chambers for inexplicable reason, but whose children were kind enough to come here today and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Elias and Caitlin, thank you very much. And then there's our newest chamber addition, Sydney Corrick, who herself recently had a new addition to her family in the form of her son Chase, born just a few weeks ago. And I cannot forget Leah Sewell Amia, a talented attorney who I also met 22 years ago when I clerked at this court, presciently, and who I am so pleased that she's come to work in my chambers. I could say a lot about my clerkship here 20 years ago. All that I learned from it, how it set the stage for everything that happened in my career afterwards. But time is short, and I'm just going to limit myself to 3 words. Carmen Beauchamp Siparik. Judge Siparik was, and still is, a most treasured mentor and friend. None of this would have happened without you, Judge Siparik, and thank you so much for giving me my start. I genuinely appreciate it. Finally, let me acknowledge my family who came to today's ceremony, my aunts and uncles and cousins who made the trip up here, as well as my sister, Maria Canatero Morosis, and her husband, Rick and Marley, who are joining us remotely. My parents passed away shortly after I became a judge, but I'm deeply honored that their siblings, my aunts and uncles, Antoinette Leone, Joe and Joanne Casa, and my Aunt Marietta Canatero, are here to stand in for my parents as members of that brave generation that came to this country seeking better opportunities for themselves and their children. And I hope I haven't let you down in that regard. And then there's Peter. Peter Goditis and I just celebrated 22 years together last week, and soon we'll be celebrating, I think, 7 years of marriage in June. I'm not sure. 22 years, folks, 22 years. There simply isn't the time to catalog the countless acts of faith and loyalty and the sacrifices that Peter has made to help me get to where I am today. Simply put, without Peter, I would not be the judge or the person that I am. And I am very sure that none of this would have ever happened if you hadn't come into my life. And so, Peter, once again, I publicly proclaim you have my undying gratitude and love. There are far too many others who deserve mention, but the exigencies of the day make that impossible. Please know that everyone who helped me get here will forever have my deep gratitude. It is my promise to all of you to do everything in my power to make you proud. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, Judge. Judge Shirley Troutman, born in the state of Georgia, raised and educated in the city of Buffalo until she left to go to law school at Albany Law School. Like her 2 colleagues, Judges Singas and Canatero, Judge Troutman has devoted her entire legal career to public service, starting as a prosecutor in the Erie County District Attorney's Office, and going on to serve as an assistant New York State Attorney General, and then as an assistant United States Attorney in the Office of the United States Attorney for the Western District of New York. Judge Troutman left the U.S. Attorney's Office upon her appointment as a judge of the very busy Buffalo City Court, was elected to a full term on that court, went on to be elected to the Erie County Court, and then, of course, to the the New York State Supreme Court as a justice for the 8th Judicial District in Western New York. She was appointed to serve on the Appellate Division, 4th Department, and she served with distinction on that court for nearly 6 years. Good preparation for your current position. Judge Troutman enjoys an excellent reputation as earned and has been at the forefront of our work to promote equity and inclusion in our courts and the justice system. In February 2018, Judge Troutman agreed to serve as co-chair of the Franklin H. Williams Judicial Commission, and she did an excellent job, along with her co-chair, Justice Troy Weber, of jointly guiding the Commission's members as they work to educate and advise court decision makers on issues affecting employees and litigants of color in the New York State courts. On November 24th, 2021, Judge Troutman was nominated to the court and was confirmed by the New York State Senate on January 12th, 2022. In the very short time that Judge Troutman has served with us, she has already enhanced our bench with her broad legal and judicial experience, her collegial spirit, and her understanding of the important mission of this institution. We are delighted to have Judge Troutman as our newest colleague, and I know that Judge Troutman's family and friends are delighted as well, especially her very proud mom, Mrs. Janie Troutman. Welcome, Mrs. Troutman, to our court. Her husband, Ken Turner. Her daughter, Lauren Howard, also a lawyer. Her son, Stephen Howard. Her brothers, a lot of family here, Eddie and Terry Troutman. Her sister, Joyce Troutman. Her nieces, Brittany, Brianna, and Jillian Freeman. And her nephew, Tyler Troutman. Judge Troutman, please come forward for the administration of the oath. Bible. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Shirley Troutman,
I, Shirley Troutman,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to uphold the Constitution of the United States,
to uphold the Constitution of the United States,
to uphold the Constitution of the great state of New York,
to uphold the Constitution of the great state of New York,
and to faithfully discharge my duties
and to faithfully discharge my duties
as Associate Judge of the New York Court of Appeals
as Associate Judge of the New York State Court of Appeals
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God. Good afternoon. I wish to thank everyone in attendance today. I especially appreciate Ann Byer's patience, as do my colleagues, and I thank the entire professional staff of this court. And Vaughn, thank you for your beautiful voice. And Justice Ellerin, before I go on, I am so happy and honored that you made the journey here today. My Jewish godmother. It is such an honor to be welcomed to the Court of Appeals with my colleagues, judges Madeleine and Anthony Canatero. The first time I ever entered a courtroom was this one as a first-year student at Albany Law School with my civil procedure professor, Patricia Youngblood Rahan, leading the way for me and the rest of my class. So to be here now as a member of the court is certainly surreal. Yet, as I sit before you, I realize that this special moment is not due to my efforts alone. So let me again borrow from one of my favorite jurists, Thurgood Marshall. None of us got where we are solely by pulling ourselves up by our own bootstraps. We got there because somebody bent down and helped pick us up, help us pick up our boots. It would be impossible for me to thank each of the individuals personally who bent down and helped me pick up my heels. However, having been raised by a Southern mother, there are simply those that I must thank publicly. I am so blessed that my mother is able to share that which I dare say she and my father would have imagined as impossible when they were growing up in the segregated South. Mom, I thank you for being an amazing mother who never grew tired of helping me to see that which I viewed as impossible was in fact possible. In addition, I thank you for providing me with unconditional love, which allowed me to see that a mistake is simply an opportunity to learn from. I want to let everyone know that it was your willingness to serve not only as a grandmother to my children, but also as their third parent that allowed me to pursue my career opportunities. Although my father passed away a few years ago, I honor him today for giving me my work ethic, my smile, his love, and of course, my name. I have the privilege of being the mother of Stephen and Lauren. My children shared my judicial path with me, and when they were small, their little loving arms wrapped around my legs at the end of a long day had the power to neutralize even the worst day. The two of you are my pride and joy. To my husband, Ken, with you, I found completeness, and I appreciate your willingness to walk beside me in life as a true, supportive, loving partner and helpmate. To my entire family and friends, each of you have contributed to this day, always being there for me when I've needed you, including during my many campaigns. My judicial friends, Jeanette Ogden and Dennis Ward, thank you both for seeing that this day was possible for me long ago and insisting that I speak up for myself. Although Buffalo is often teased about snow, for those of you who don't hail from Western New York, you should know that it is a place where we look out for one another. And fortunately for me, that includes Assembly Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes, Senators Sean Ryan and Tim Kennedy, and Democratic Chairman Jeremy Zellner, with an able assist for many others from around the state. Moreover, due to the leadership of Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins, Minority Leader Robert Ort, and Judiciary Chair Brad Hoylman, both my judiciary hearing and confirmation hearing are examples of what true bipartisanship looks like. When I speak of my family, there is no way that I could fail to highlight the role of my supportive Court of Appeals alum from Buffalo, Eugene Piggott, who unfortunately, due to illness, was unable to attend today, and Eugene Fahey, two men who, throughout my judicial career, loudly whispered in my ear about opportunities they felt I should consider. However, the one thing you should know about both of them is they are die-hard Buffalo Bills fans. And so what better way for me to know where my seat was upon my my first time entering into our conference room than for Judge Fahey marking it for me with a tiny Bills helmet, a tradition that began with Judge Piggott. Thank you. To Governor Hokel, I want to thank you, not only for the privilege of serving on the Court of Appeals, I also want to thank you for reaching out to me and extending a hand when you were Hamburg Town Supervisor. Your invitation for others to meet with me in your kitchen resulted in my being elected as Erie County's first county court judge of color, and thus, I believe, helped pave the way to this court. When I left the Appellate Division, 4th Department, it was bittersweet. For me, because Justice Whalen and all of my colleagues who I served with there have become family to me. However, I am comforted in knowing that with this court, my family has grown yet again. Chief Judge DeFiore, I thank you and each of my colleagues for your warm welcome and support. In addition, I have a staff of hard-working, dedicated people who tirelessly work to help me in my new role. So Regan-I and Cindy O'Bara, I will forgive you both for leaving me to write a new chapter in your lives, because the two of you passed the baton to the very capable hands of Patrick, Laura, Ivan, and Michelle. During my life, I've had the honor to serve in some amazing roles, and I am the better because of each of them. However, one role that has impacted me greatly is my time as co-chair of the Franklin H. Williams Judicial Commission. It was an opportunity of a lifetime that was given to me by Chief Judge DeFiore, which provided me with a chance to have a positive imprint on New York's judicial system by utilizing the commission as a vehicle to help move it closer to its goal of achieving racial equity and fairness in the courts. I'm highlighting the commission because I have no doubt that its establishment was part of the catalyst that helped pave the way for me to be assigned to the window seat I now occupy on the Court of Appeals, a chair that was used many years ago by our first female judge, Judith Kaye, when she first joined the Court of Appeals in 1983, prior to becoming the Chief Judge in 1993. Thus, today, I am honored to join this court as the second Black woman, the first woman from Western New York, and the 10th woman to serve in the 175 years of its existence. Thank you.